Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris back with CAC Knives here with another knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. We got a pretty special one today as we explore another company's first attempt into making resin scales, and I think they did a pretty dang good job. Not only are we exploring that, but we're also going to review the knife overall itself, at least with the resin scales version. This is the Real Steel Pathfinder FFG in acrylic handle and black wash. You can see the number there. Now, this is not the first Real Steel knife that I've ever messed with. However, it is, in my opinion, the best one that I've ever messed with. Oh, awesome. Looky here what we got. Even though this doesn't look correct here, because this says the handle materials G10, but I'm guessing that's for the original one. There's the designer, Ivan Braganets. Sorry if I said your name wrong there. It's got thumbstone and crossbar lock, 14C 28 in blade steel, which is kind of the better end of some budget steels there. You got some info on the knife. Came with this to protect it during shipping, and that's all we got with this one. I also switched my backgrounds, by the way, because I actually think this background shows off the knives better. But let's look at this knife. It is a larger knife overall. We'll go ahead and set the roller down. As you can see, closed by itself, it is longer than a lot of knives, because it is 5 inches closed. So it's a very long knife. I chose today to do this review because it's a very bright day outside, and I was hoping I get some better lighting here in the room as well. So you can see the kind of navy blue and black resin that shines through these very cool white lines. And trust me guys, this does look better in person, and especially better in sunlight than it does on the camera, but I am doing my best. Not sure any camera really could pick this up unless you were doing a video out in the sun. It does a very bright white G10 backspacer as well. And then we get that really long blade out. The designer's there on the blade. Very nice black washed 14C 28 in blade. His logo there kind of looks like a buck or something. I'm not sure what creature that is, but it's got like horns coming out of it. And yeah, now you will not be able to get a titanium clip for this. The clip is actually goes in the knife under the handle, so it's kind of its own special clip. Functions the same as a lot of other ones. Very deep carry. None of this knife sticks out of your pocket, so if you are somebody that really enjoys that, you'll like this. And of course, their crossbar lock, their version of the axis lock, it works pretty well. When closing, you do got to give this one maybe a tiny bit, maybe not. Here, let's see if I just do actual. Yeah, you got to give it a little bit of help on this one, but I think that's just because the knife is so large. I don't think it really has anything to do with the function of the lock. It is on bearings. Maybe if I gave a little lube to the bearings, it would shut a little bit easier. Of course, I could also loosen the pivot just a smidge, and it would fall shut easier as well. We are perfect. Yeah, I'd say we're perfectly centered. Might not show up perfect. Yeah, it looks pretty centered to me when it's closed. And the purpose of this knife, they were attempting to make, at least with the original G10 version, a bushcraft folding knife. Which, can it be used as that? Yes. For bushcrafting, I'd always recommend a fixed blade anyways, but you know, to each their own. It was a good attempt, but we're going to take this review as just a large folding EDC knife. So the blade length is 3 3/4 inch of cutting edge, and if you want to do the blade all the way back here, you got a 4-inch blade and a almost 9-inch overall knife. Very large knife indeed. Let's get some size comparisons out. Let's bring out the two OGs here. We got the Civivi Elementum and the QSP Penguin, two knives that people are very accustomed to, two knives that are about the same length, and due to the angle of the camera, we can swap these around a little bit. But, you know, I would almost venture to say this knife is probably 3 inches longer at least than both of these, and a little bit more girthy as well. Let's also bring out two other knives that have different kinds of resin. This is a Finch flint with blood kyanite, and kyanite, of course, is, in my opinion, the premium resin material in the knife world. Just can't talk today. And then we have this pearl resin here. This was a set of custom handle scales, and you can kind of see the difference there. Now, I will say the resin on this kind of resembles kyanite in some ways, and in some ways it doesn't. I would honestly venture to say that this resin is a mixture between those two types that I just showed you, because it has pearl resin kind of essence inside, but it also kind of has the kyanite going on with the white lines everywhere. It looks very cool. It's a very unique scale. I hope they keep doing things like this, maybe some other color combinations, right? But yeah, let's get into the actual review of the knife. I have 5 steps that 5 points that I make, and I give it a score out of 10 on each point. And the first one is fit and finish. I have carried this knife multiple times. I have looked this knife over pretty extensively, and I cannot find any fit and finish issues whatsoever. Functions really well. Everything seems symmetrical, and I have not discovered an issue with it. So yeah, I get a 10 out of 10 for that. Price for the materials and the work. This knife, when I bought it, was $90. $90 for some very unique and large resin scales. 14C 28N blackwash blade. You know, the size of the knife definitely matters, because they used a lot more material in this knife than, say, for example, the Finch here. And these Finches cost $145, but the Finch has kyanite, the Finch has, you know, titanium clip, the Finch has a 154 cm blade, not 14C 28N, which is an upgrade, but the Finch also costs, you know, $55 more. So it might be a tad bit too expensive, but it's not that much more expensive than when I say it should be priced, given these unique scales. So we'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's pretty dang close to what I'd say it should be priced at. Maybe $5, $10 too much, but not that much. And a lot of times Real Steel has sales and, you know, codes and stuff that you can put in to make things cheaper. So we'll give it a 9.5 out of 10 for the price. Smooth action and fidgetivity. Fidgetivity is definitely there. It's kind of harder to operate on this knife in some ways because the handle is 5 inches long. If you have a really large knife or really large hands, you are gonna love this knife, because you're actually going to be able to hold this fairly easily as if it was a normal EDC knife for you. The problem is the thumb studs, while they function pretty well, they did do some cut-ins there to help you get in there with your fingers. They're kind of small, and they can be hard to access sometimes. So the problem with somebody with, you know, larger sized hands, they're going to be able to, you know, going to be able to use the knife fairly well, but, you know, opening with the thumb studs may be an issue. Granted, you can just, you know, pull back on the crossbar lock and fling it out there, but you know, if you want to open it using the thumb studs, it might be a little bit difficult for you. So, but overall, all access locks are usually fidgety, and you can reverse flick it and everything, as long as, you know, you're somebody that can access those thumb studs easily like I'm able to do, then you shouldn't have a problem. But we're going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 for that as well, for those thumb studs being a little bit gimmicky in the sense that I can see them not always working well. So the next category is it easy to carry, and is it lightweight in terms of its size? Of course, they milled out this thing as much as they possibly could. You can see the kind of triangle milling there. There's a good capture of it. These steel liners are incredibly milled out to the point where the handle definitely doesn't have too much weight to it. And you know, when we're talking about a 9-inch knife, of course this thing's going to have some weight to it, but for its size, I think that it weighs pretty good. Let's see if I have anything close to me that is this size. Could bring up the Syncut Fantara here, which, you know, they're about the same size. This one is thicker, of course, and has a much bigger blade, but it weighs quite a bit more than the Real Steel, probably more than it should when we say in terms of size. And don't act like Syncut does not also cut out their liners, because they do. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely lightweight. And in terms of carry, you know, it's a 5-inch handle, so you're gonna have to have some good pockets for this to go all the way down in. I've never had a problem, and the fact that it is very much a deep carry clip definitely helps. I'm gonna dock it half a point just because the handle is so long. Some pockets might not be able to have this knife in them. Like I said, I've never had an issue with shorts, with, you know, cargo pants, jeans, sweatpants. I've been able to carry this knife in everything that I've ever worn, but you know, I could see situations where you can't. So we'll dock it half a point again, 9.5 out of 10, but everything else, you know, works well. And is it easy to maintain, clean, and sharpen? Well, in terms of sharpening goes, should be pretty easy. Just a simple groove there on the whetstone or whatever you use to sharpen. I will say these big handles, you know, where they're so thick like that, they might give you a little bit issue sharpening here close to the edge. And I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but this one's probably going to create a smiley face with the sharpening, just by the looks of things. As far as taking the knife apart goes, well, it shouldn't be too hard. You have this front screw here. By the way, lefties, you will be able to carry this knife in. It will function exactly the same as a right-handed carry because it's an axis lock, so the lock style is the same. And you can put that pocket clip over here. But anyways, back to the maintain. You literally got to take 2 screws out to get this scale off. And then you can not only get the resin scale off, looks like you can get the liner off as well, and there's no additional screws in there. So this should be pretty easy to maintain as long as you mind the spring. Those axis lock kind of springs can be a pain when maintaining knives sometimes. They definitely can be a pain. But you know, as long as you take care and don't lose those springs, you should be okay. But yeah, I don't see any major issues. Maybe we'll dock it half a point for the smiley face. We're docking at half a point on almost every category for something, ain't we? But overall, this knife is a dang near perfect knife for its size. I think it could handle some tougher tasks due to its size. You know, obviously it's going to handle tasks better than smaller knives will. You're going to have more cutting edge for the blade to last longer, even though it is, you know, a kind of higher end budget steel, 14C 28N. I would still consider that a budget steel, especially nowadays. We have so many steel types. The resin handles look great. Most people that are buying this knife for tough work are probably buying the G10, not the resin. But if you're buying the resin, you're probably buying it because you love the looks of it. And I can definitely see this being a functional EDC carry. Now, with this knife being as large as it is, you know, there's portions of the world, even portions of the United States, where you're not allowed to EDC this knife. So, you know, you're kind of gonna have to pay attention to your local laws and everything. But yeah, this was a very interesting one, guys. Let me know what you all think in the comments. I think if they did this kind of resin and some crazy different cool color combinations, then that would be nuts, and I would definitely get them on different models of theirs. Real Steel is a company that I would give the company overall, in terms of their production of knives, like a 7 or 8 out of 10. They're not like perfect. You can definitely feel that they're not to the level of Finch, for example. Their knives, just when you open them and carry them and stuff, they feel a little bit cheaper. I'm trying not to be insulting, but it's just my experience with them. Doesn't mean they're bad by any means. This knife is awesome. I really do like this one. But, you know, overall, their knives kind of look more premium, but they feel a little cheaper, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain that well. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you like this knife? Do you think it's pretty cool? Is it maybe too big, or maybe it's just the right size for somebody who has larger hands? Let me know what you think. Give a like to the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.